And I believe we are live. Another last minute live stream. I'm starting to go through the World Economic Forum. They had their annual meeting between the 16th and the 21st of January. So I'm going to be going through monotonous, it might be a little monotonous because I'm sure there's a lot of boring stuff too. Not every single thing they say is, conspiracy dystopian information. I actually think maybe there are some leaders there that actually think that they're doing something good. Obviously, most systems of deception like this are very the car not decar they're car they make compartments. My goodness, starting out well. Yeah, so they make various compartments so that one aspect that is working on something doesn't necessarily know the whole scope, and it's kind of like a pyramid. So as you go higher and higher, you know, you're more in the knowing. So I wrote down some notes. I only got through the opening with Klaus Schwab, where he says the usual thing that we're dealing with multiple crises happening at the same time. Then he mentions climate change, the war in Ukraine, the pandemic, future pandemics, as well as migration that's also attributed, especially in the future, to climate change disasters. You always hear that word in not equality, but equity. Um, if we're talking about equality of opportunity, that's great. Everybody should have equal opportunity. If we're not allowing a certain subgroup to have those opportunities, then we're missing out. Um, we're missing out on the talent that might be available there. So definitely um, equality of opportunity, great, but there's also equality of outcome, and that's usually when they're speaking of equity. They're talking about an equality of outcome, and that means that it's a top-down situation. To guarantee equality of outcomes, the government needs to really be heavy-handed to guarantee those outcomes, and that's a lot what communism is. Also, it's basically sharing the wealth, that everybody gets what they need. The problem is that who's deciding what everybody needs? Hey, Margaret, you're the first here. We already have 4 people. Say hello in the live chat, and make sure to put a thumbs up. I'm going to post the invite for people that I know, especially while we're waiting. If anybody wants to pop on, feel free to press the link and you'll enter the back studio, and I will decide if you're worthy enough or not to be accepted on the panel, this prestigious panel. So for the opening annual meeting, Klaus, besides talking about what I just mentioned, the other speaker mentioned that 10 years ago, 50% of the population lived in a democracy. And now, 10 years later, 20% of us live in a democracy. And if we've seen anything over the last 3 years, is that previously free countries like Canada, where I am, that enjoyed freedom, we're seeing that stripped away by very authoritarian moves that Justin Trudeau was able to exhibit to the world, at least. All right. What up, David? Nice to see you. Thanks for joining the live stream. Yeah, so my live streams usually veer off course into all sorts of topics, and that's something that I like. If you're just joining, guys, what I'm doing is I'm slowly going through the World Economic Forum on YouTube, their official sites, to look at the speakers, to look at the topics, and to try and give brief summaries from each video, in case you're too busy to check it out. Making a big effort. Most of the time, I'll get the information secondhand by somebody else's video, and then I'll look into, oh, I'm going to go check out that. But I'm going to try and do, I think it's worth it that we really start making the effort of really looking carefully at the World Economic Forum, not only just, Googling it or going on YouTube and writing World Economic Forum dystopia, but really go through it in depth so that you're not hearing it secondhand, that you're really getting the information directly from the World Economic Forum, and that you can come up also maybe with some original ideas. So as we talk about the World Economic Forum, the annual meeting that was held between the 16th and the 21st, if any of you guys have any information or even videos that are worth watching and commenting on, please feel free to put that in the chat right away. So the first video that I checked was just the opening statement from Klaus Schwab. All right. Yeah. So this one over here. So it's just an opening remarks. Like I said, for this one, nothing groundbreaking, pretty much doing his typical spiel about how this is a great opportunity to create a great reset. He doesn't use the actual word great reset there, but if you're saying great reset, the old school new world order that we're hearing less and less because it's been rebranded, basically fourth industrial revolution, also which is a merging of biology and technology together. So that's also biology and technology merging together, and then also creating a society that is a technocracy. So technology, surveillance, AI, all of these things will be implemented, and we will be monitored, not only what we're doing on our phones, contact tracing, knowing where our locations are. These things will be installed on all of these electric cars also. So we'll be monitored 24/7. But on top of that, we're going to have biometrics. So I'm sure they're going to roll it out, always in the guise of basically improving our safety. Often they're going to add, Margaret, I'll let you in a second. So they always bring it in like, oh, well, this will be amazing for medical advances, for example. But these medical, and it's true, again, the technology itself is not necessarily what is evil. I think we're playing with fire when we start getting into the genetic manipulations. I kind of think that that's evil the whole way around. They're trying to play with our genetics to overcome modern diseases like cancers and Alzheimer's and all sorts of modern diseases that we actually were not suffering at epidemic levels prior to maybe a century and a half, about. We're dealing with these things in the 19th century. So instead of going back and saying, okay, well, this is all synthetic crap. We shouldn't be doing this or that. Why are we adding all of these things? Do we even know if that's safe? No, what they're going to do is like, you know what? Let's use nanotechnology. Let's gene edit people. Let's do genetic manipulations to treat illnesses that are rampant in today's society because of what they're putting in our food, what we are being, what we're breathing, the chemicals on our clothes, um, all of our deodorants, shampoos, the fluoride, just the pharmaceuticals, a lot of people just think, like, boom, there's a medication for everything, never really thinking about, has this really been tested like on all levels, or was this passed through a clinical trial? And they know when the animals drop dead at what dose, and off we go, you know. Um, Let Margaret on. Howdy, Margaret. How are you?
Hi,
You can hear me?
I hear you. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you good. Thanks for coming
Okay.
on.
Um, from what I've seen of other channels, they have to use the word allegedly.
Okay.
And if you're talking about a specific news item, they post it on their channel for the viewers to go to that channel and watch it for themselves. This way they stay out of trouble.
Yeah, I seem to be getting into trouble lately.
I'm glad you're back.
I got that video right blocked, that live stream. I I overdid it. I mean, we were looking at stuff behind paywalls and stuff on Netflix, but I don't think I got a strike. It's weird because it said copyright strike. No, it said blocked and it said copyright, but I didn't get like an
Okay.
email or a notice, which is really weird. Like when I look at my kind of monetization, because that strikes can affect monetization, and it says follow community guidelines. Doesn't seem like I have a strike. So
That's good.
yeah, I just posted another video. I don't know if it's
Yeah,
already
I got
been
it.
on. Yeah, that one too. I mean, technically, in that one, I don't even write anything, but I don't know if this like the scary music in the background, which implies that this is a horrible thing. I'm not sure if that'll get me in trouble. I don't know if like what the music implies um, can kind of get me in trouble. But
Or
like I said,
you could mute it. No.
no, I added the music to it. Here, let's
Oh, okay.
I won't play it now because I want people to actually look at it. Um, but yeah, like I put some eerie music on it,
Yeah.
and it doesn't give a good impression about it. But I didn't say anything. Technically, all I did was I wrote Davos, and then I did the little excerpt from the CEO of Pfizer. Have you looked at anything about the World Economic Forum there, the meeting that they just had this week? Did you hear anything? I'm trying to
Just
think.
that
That's
Musk blew the lid off them.
really, yeah, I heard that, but is he really or
I'm on the fence with him because he's talking about AI taking over the world and that, and he's making them. So like,
yeah, the Neuralink, yeah,
I'm kind of on the fence with this guy.
yeah, yeah. I
Like
don't think,
he's done a lot and he means to do good, but
yeah,
like he's tied with the government, so that's kind of iffy.
yeah, yeah. I think maybe he's just better at PR. Obviously, he's money based. He's a brilliant man. I don't deny that. But the Neuralink thing, him, like you just said, him talking about AI taking over the world, the dangers of AI, and basically turning around and saying, so if you can't beat them, join them. You may as well put a Neuralink in your brain. So it's like, not
And I
sure.
saw one of the robots that they had built helping on a
Yeah.
construction site. That really scared me because they're really agile. Like you
Yeah.
can't run from these things.
No, no. That's why I'm I'm quite pessimistic about the future. I know a lot of people are like, no, more people are finding out about it. And I'm like, okay, well, if there is a uprising, I have a feeling it'll be violent. I have a feeling the uprising will be violent. And I have a feeling that they're ready for a population that becomes violent if they're not actually trying to encourage their weapon technology. I mean, we're not even talking about bullets. We're just talking about like high frequency and DARPA and just these like high frequency sounds that can like literally,
Drive you nuts. Yeah.
put you on the floor, pain, and it feels like you're burning, feels like your head's going to explode and stuff like that. Then after I mix it with my Christian perspective, which is horrible things are going to happen. I mean, they always say like, oh, don't be discouraged because Jesus is coming. Well, yeah, I know, but before Jesus
In the
comes,
meantime.
yeah, like it's the Great Tribulation. I mean, you look at Revelation, the environmental catastrophes, things that could sound like a nuclear bomb, social upheaval. I mean, when things starts rolling, it's like 2/3 of the population are dying. Like it's a rough ride. So,
Yeah.
and there is the beast system that will dominate the world. So I don't see it, us just waking up and saying, no, you guys, you're not doing this to us. I think that's a pipe dream. I hope I'm wrong, but I'm very pessimistic. They would, in my opinion, they wouldn't be so blatantly open about it now if they didn't think that they had this in the bag.
Also, I wanted to ask you.
Yeah.
I watched this pathology thing on the web,
Yeah.
and they were showing X-rays of the
Hmm.
blood cells and the tissue, the muscle tissue, and that.
Yeah.
And there's all these little blue dots. I think they're called pyrons or prions.
Okay.
How long does that take to leave your body? Like I know aspirin takes like 3 days to get out of your system completely.
Yeah. So, okay. So what did you call it? Cryon?
Prion? Prions?
P-R-I-O.
I think that's what it's called.
It's a disease, right? I've heard of that.
No, it's from the jabs.
It's from what?
The jabs.
Yeah, I'm looking it up now. I don't.
It's a doctor. He put out on his channel what he's a pathologist.
Okay. You know what? We could check that out. Prion, an abnormal form of a normally harmless protein found in the brain that is responsible for a variety of fatal neurodegenerative diseases. I'm just kind of like looking.
But this is all through the body, in all the
Okay.
muscle tissue, the organs, the blood.
Do you have this doctor? I'm assuming it's on YouTube.
Yep,
So what's his name?
I forget.
Okay.
Pathology doctor.
Yeah, if I write that, pathology doctor.
Because he is a whistleblower,
Mm-hmm.
and he spoke to a lot of coroners
Yeah.
and got their written affidavits, signed everything, and he sent it all to the CDC,
Okay.
and nothing as yet. That's what I read.
Well, there's that. It's funny when you were talking about coroners. What was it? I forget. I think a lot of people have seen it. It was being passed around. It's not coroners, but it's the embalmers at the funeral places that were talking about when they're embalming, how all of a sudden now, like, the blood is different. It's not that it's clotted thick. It's like these. It almost looks like calamari that they're pulling out of the vessels.
Yeah.
It was a documentary that was sent. Somebody, if somebody knows what I'm talking about, write it in the in the live chat. Yeah, so I looked up pathology doctor, but I don't see it. Are you sure that's his site? What it's called?
No, I'm looking on my phone now.
Yeah, take your time.
It was a medical thing, and he's showing all the documents, the slides, and
Well,
he's
it's
talking with another doctor.
yeah, but I need like something like to put in the search to get like the actual guy, because I mean I put pathology doctor, but a lot of stuff on pathology came up, but not necessarily like I wouldn't know which one this is. Did you look at it recently? Because you probably look at your history.
Yeah, last week.
That might be a little far down. Yeah, so I looked at just the opening statement. That's what I was saying before. It was with Klaus Schwab. There was nothing really, groundbreaking. Repeating just the multiple crises that we're dealing with, and form foundational essentials.
Maybe they took him down because I'm zooming through.
Yeah. Yeah, he was talking about business as usual again. Pushing more like the metaverse and doing more business online. All basically efforts to minimize our movements. Basically, is what I think. He's talking about the increase in fertilizer prices, the increase in oil prices, the increases in famine. But in reality, all of those things have been manufactured right now. Like all of these crises are pretty much manufactured. Um, so it's pretty convenient to say that we have all these crises. It's like, okay, well, the whole economic crisis was purposely orchestrated to completely collapse the current economic system, because they'll want to do a shared economy, a digital economy. Um, Also, it was allegedly, no, it was very convenient that during the pandemic, all of these smaller privately owned stores, restaurants, you name it, entrepreneurs lost their livelihood, and everything seemed to get shuttled towards Amazon and online purchases. Billionaires, made $42 trillion. The 1% of elites made 42 trillion, while 200 million people, became either like completely financially ruined. So again, very very convenient. So it seems like all of these things are orchestrated. The fertilizer use we see in Canada, but this is globally, that they're putting restrictions on fertilizer use. I think in the Netherlands, there's a lot of upheavals, and there's a lot of people protesting aggressively, and these things are just not being given a platform on any of the mainstream media. So that's kind of not surprising, I guess. Gate Smasher, hey man, how are you?
Cleveland Medical.
It's Cleveland
Cleveland,
Medical. Okay, I'll check it out.
Cleveland Clinic.
Okay, I sent it, but I don't know what they called. Looked stringently and harmfully. I own rental property, and it was really tough. Tenants got away from not paying rent. Yeah, I know. That's really doesn't help, the person who is waiting for the rent so that they can pay the building that they're trying to pay off too. Hey, Peter. Feel free to come on if you're interested. That goes for pretty much anybody. So far, the names that I see, feel free to go on. Okay, Margaret, let's look for this. So YouTube. What was his name you said?
It's Cleveland Clinic.
Okay.
But I'm looking for the picture with the two doctors on it.
Clinic. So there is a Cleveland Clinic. Okay. Warning. Is it one? I'm assuming it's one of the here. You know what? I'm just going to share the screen so that you can tell me if that's
But it, so
the right.
the muscle tissue, the organs, the blood vessels are full of these blue dots.
I wonder if it's those alleged nanoparticles that I just posted on my small video I just posted now. Is it this? Cleveland
Yes.
Clinic? All right.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming it's probably not like that old, the video. Tell me if you see it.
With the COVID.
Maybe I should just write COVID.
Pathology. Where are you?
This one?
Yeah, that's similar to what I saw. I
COVID
think
19.
that's him.
This is about the lung. So you think it's that one? This
I
is
think so.
specifically the pulmonary pathology. I know that part. All right, so let's check it out.
I was just wondering how long does it take for it to get up, these spike proteins to get out of your
Who
skin?
knows? Who knows? I mean, they say, right, they initially said that it was localized, right? It stayed in that spot and it was rapidly deteriorate, like, you know, the body would deteriorate it. But I heard that it's allegedly showing up in breast milk and kind of all throughout the body. Okay, so let's check this out a little bit.
But now I also read that a
Yeah.
Dr. John Campbell.
Yeah, I think my mom listens to him too. He seems to be doing good stuff. He's a retired doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I've heard.
they're putting together the fastest and the strongest. They mix the two together.
Okay, the
I
strongest one.
of what we just had going around since 2020, 21. What we all got the jabs for.
Okay, understood.
Yeah.
All right, let's listen.
Hi, my name is Sanjay Mukhopadhyay. I am a pathologist who specializes in looking at lung specimens under the microscope. And today I'm going to talk about the COVID-19 pandemic that we're in the middle of. I decided to do this talk at the suggestion of Dr. Jared Gardner, who has made an impassioned plea on YouTube to people to take this pandemic seriously. I'm going to focus on one of the manifestations of COVID-19 that happens in very severely ill patients, and that's called ARDS. And I'm going to try and explain to you what that looks like under the microscope.
Is it this one, you think?
No.
No, that's why I didn't think so.
But that slide looks familiar.
Yeah. Here, let's just go back. Let me just look at. I mean, it must be. Can't be that
He's
old.
in his 50s, the doctor. He's not a young
Hey?
guy. He's in his 50s.
Not this guy. Cleveland Clinic. Just look one last time at the videos.
I was just wondering how long it stays in the body.
I would not know.
Because I thought it really weird that it attacked your Achilles heel. Like, whatever ailment you have in your body. It seemed to attack it.
Oh. I know I had neuropathy on my leg, like my thigh, because of some compressed discs. And so after I caught COVID,
Anywhere, yeah, it attacked the inflammation.
yeah, like it was worse, and then it just stayed worse. It kind of never got better, but it was definitely it definitely correlated with me. It started to be more sensitive when I caught COVID, and then after it kind of never went away. It's like a burning feeling on the thigh.
But these WEF guys, okay, so they knock us all off. So who
Hmm.
the hell's going to clean their house and wash their dishes and take their clothes to the cleaners? Like, they're kind of shooting themselves in the foot, no?
It'll be like the Jetsons, you know? You'll have a robot. Well, one of the World Economic Forum talks, probably with Yuval Noah Harari. He's the most outspoken. He basically said it'll create like a class. No, what he said, he goes, those who adapted quickly in the previous revolution dominated those that were hesitant, and they became like,
So they become the slaves.
well, yeah, exactly. They became the workers and the peasants. He goes, now though, it's going to be even worse, because it's that the people will become irrelevant, because the AI technology and all of this technology will be able to do all of those jobs. So now they don't even have a use for these people. So they're going to be called useless people. And that's dangerous when you're able to justify a crisis as if the world is going to become extinct because of how humans are behaving on the planet. Now you roll in all of this AI and this technocracy that takes all of the jobs, and now you don't even have stuff for these people to do. That's kind of and the depopulation. So now they're going to be looking at this population saying, well, you guys are just using up resources. You have a carbon footprint. There's already too much people. It's not a good position to be in when you're literally, irrelevant. And that's something I'm pretty sure the psychopath Yuval Noah Harari said. He goes, it'll be even more of a concern, because now a large amount of people will be irrelevant. What else are people saying here? AG Legend, how are you? Matt Saint in the house. Hi, His Highness Double H. The comedian lady that talked about jobs and how God must love her, then she fainted and collapsed on stage.
Oh, I saw that, yes.
Me too. I saw that. Made some like, and then she's like,
And the other one with the lightning and thunder, and then the power.
Yes. Was that the pastor that he's a pastor, but he's always talking about like LGBTQ stuff? Is that the one? Yeah. He's like, that's not a sign. It's like, even he realized, like, oh crap. I should see if I can find that one. Sounds like only your embalmer knows for sure. They can do their own dishes and laundry. I am good. World Economic Forum is trying to play God, or is it something else, changing genetics of humans? Why? What is it that they know they're not telling the people? Well, there's one aspect that these people really do, believe in evolution, in natural selection. They believe so. What Noah Harari said was, when we start doing this genetic, tampering with here, that is intelligent design, because evolution was just a blind natural selection. There was no intelligence. We got from primordial soup, when Grandpa was a can of Campbell's soup, to human beings here, and all of this was just blind natural selection. So now that we are intelligent beings, we can grab evolution by the reins, and what can go wrong? I mean, we're intelligent. So that's the problem with the atheistic, godless, evolutionary, natural selection point of view. It's survival of the fittest also. So if these World Economic atheists, I'd go as far as to say they're Satanists, some of them, but if they have this world view, then they'll see nothing wrong with the elites, the ones that are in a position, of authority, of power at the moment. They see no problem deciding for everyone else what's going to happen with life itself. And Noah Harari also said that human beings are biological algorithms. We're just pretty much a bag of molecules running on an algorithm. So you need to see human beings like this, like a biological algorithm. You need to think that, we just came from nothing, that there's no real meaning. And you also have to add that the benefit of the group is more important than the benefit of the individual. So with a God perspective, that we're made in the image of God, therefore we're all infinitely valuable, that puts an emphasis on individualism, the individual rights of a person. But the minute that you don't see it that way, then you see what's best for the majority, then you'll always be able to stamp out the individual rights over, for the better good. And these are all points of view that are necessary for genocide to occur. These perspectives need to be put in place. And then if you're just there's no God, if there's no right and wrong, it's all, relative. And, these atrocities, in my opinion, are going to come. Matt says the kidnapped, lost, missing kids will be their slaves, workers after the middle and lower class are gone, like Germany in World War II, useless eaters, or like Trudeau says, people who are hanging on. Yes, the dinosaurs. Okay.
I don't know if it was in your article. They could pump out 30,000 babies. I don't know, in a month or in a year. They're born in a capsule. They're growing in a capsule. Was that your video?
No. I mean, I know about that. I've heard about that, but it wasn't specifically me on that subject. All right. So Matt, sorry, I've been calling you Matt Saint. So it's Matt Street. I'll just call you Matt until another Matt arrives. Gate Smasher says, with the earthquakes and volcanoes going off and science is finding creatures that have gone extinct are now being found, science seems wrong a lot these days. Yeah. Yep. The rich will look down. Yeah, the rich will look down at the poor as subhuman. Well, I mean, the rich always, they've always done that. I think now with transhumanism and, transhumanism, the merging of man and machine together, people that will be getting these upgrades, if they're functional at all, these people that are getting these upgrades may have an advantage. Look at, for example, just the V and the on V, okay? How it's segregated the population. Not just a segregation in opinion, but hatred towards the other group. I saw
Yeah,
it from both sides. I've experienced from my side being, called, basically all sorts of names as if I'm a horrible person, and because I was a pussy and I allowed myself to be coerced into getting it. I didn't even agree. I wasn't even for it, and I got it, and I'm still an enemy to the on V, to a lot of the on V group. So you can imagine once we start implementing transhumanism and merging man and machine, that there will be also a huge segregation also, especially if they're going to make it like they did with the vaccines. It's not mandatory initially, right? It's, it's, if you want it, you can get it, but then before you know it, they're indirectly forcing you to get the vaccine. So what else? Let me just call one of my friends here. I just want to tell him that I'm online.
also,
Yeah, go
when
ahead, Mark.
when this first started to come out,
Yeah,
when it first hit China, the United States bought vaccines. They could vaccine each person in the United States twice for smallpox. Now, why the hell would they do that when smallpox is eradicated?
yeah. Who knows? Well, we know. It's like, who knows? I have no clue. Join the live stream. I have a friend, Craig, and we always have good conversations on this topic, and he's too chicken to come on. So I've been trying to annoy him. Come on, man. Come on. We have great conversations. What else?
But how do we stop this? Like, now that the majority is aware of what's going on, how do we stop them? We can't. They
I don't know.
can turn their backs against us.
Yeah, like I mean, there's professionals in the field that were speaking out at the start of this 3 years ago, and they were silenced pretty damn fast. I mean, they lost careers, they were ostracized, they basically lost everything trying to speak out. These were professionals. So it just seems that anybody who speaks out will be silenced. I don't know. Like I said, me personally, I'm super pessimistic. I think this is going down. I think that, like I said, the best situation is that yes, people will get pissed off and they will get violent. And when they get violent, then they can deal with that too. So I don't see any peaceful revolution occurring. I mean, when we look at in previous live streams, the partners for the World Economic Forum, you may as well put a list of who are not partners, from bank to agriculture to pharmaceuticals to everything. They're all partnered with the World Economic Forum. So like, how rebellious can you get if they shut down your bank account? We don't like you. Your bank account's shut. Okay, like,
My husband's uncle didn't believe in banks. He kept everything under his bed.
Yeah. Well, maybe we should go back to that. I don't know. Does anybody else have opinions? Anybody else more optimistic on this situation?
Well, the good news, they're all old men. They're going to die soon.
Yeah,
And then
exactly.
the families will fight each other for
Yeah, they just got to keep like people, let's say in my generation, your generation, just keep us in chaos, overwhelmed with all of these narratives, because it's really not us that they really care about. It's the next generation. That's why they're going so strong on propagandizing socially the children, making them into all sorts of activists, from ideologies, what they're doing with that, to climate change, just ramming it down. I mean, even climate change, it's so hard to know the truth. I mean, I assume that we are having an impact, but when I've
We are. It's a cycle.
yeah,
If
but
you look at
it's
history,
not the way okay, maybe cars fine. It's not really the way individuals lived. It's like the industry, it's the energy, it's it's the huge industries with the smokestacks going. Transportation, yes, we can improve on transportation, but individuals and stuff like that, it's like, look, you want to give us electric cars? Fine, we'll drive electric cars. Like, I'm all for, looking for more sustainable energy, but we're just not there yet. Like maybe 20% of the grid can be supplemented with green technologies, but we're nowhere near leaving fossil fuel. And if we do, then we have to bridge it with nuclear. But they're skipping completely over nuclear. They're pushing all of these green agendas when the infrastructure or the technology, they're both not ready. I mean, if you have an electric car and you're plugging it in, but you're getting that electricity from fossil fuels, like, then what? You're just doing theater. You're just kind of virtue signaling, and the stuff is
but
super
I
expensive.
I heard out west they had electric car, and it was like in the minus 20s or something, and they had to charge 6 times to get to their destination. We can't have that here in Canada with our weather.
No, exactly. Yeah, that's a good point too. Matt said Matt finally mentioned that it's not Matt Saint, it's Matt Street. He's like, just never corrected you, didn't want to be rude. I have a story now that you said that. So in when I used to work in the operating room, they have like the recovery room, and there was a nurse that called me Scott, and I was too embarrassed to say, like, like a normal person, like, Scott. No, my name is not Scott. My name is Jason. So I just like didn't say anything, and she just kept on calling me Scott. And then it was kind of like a Seinfeld episode where I felt like George Costanza. I put myself in a situation where now I could not let her know that my name is not Scott, because I've allowed her so many, like over a year, to call me Scott. So I was like, I just responded to Scott when I knew I was in this department. Scott, I would respond to it. And then eventually a nurse heard her say Scott to me, and I didn't react. And then I kind of like looked at the nurse, and she's like, Scott. And I was like, no, don't say it. And then she's like, his name's not Scott, it's Jason. And like she kind of looked at me like, okay. Yeah. So Matt, I understand the anxiety of not wanting to correct somebody, because I did it.
That happened with my janitor. I was always calling him Paul.
Yeah.
And then when he was, I'm really Danielle. And I said, okay, hello, Danielle. In my past life, you were Paul.
That's it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so Gate Smasher, yeah, I already read that. With earthquakes, volcanoes going off, and science is finding creatures that were gone extinct and are now being found. Science seems to be wrong a lot. Yeah, well, the problem is that there's a scientific method, and physical science brought us all of these innovations and stuff like that. But now we have scientism, and just like now we have private corporate relationships or working together, the private sector and the corporate, the private as well as the public. So the government and large corporations are working together. We also have the academic institutions working with big corporations, funding those science. So, at this point, everything is corrupt. The establishments are corrupt, and, there's nothing wrong with creating pharmaceuticals, but look at how corrupt it is. So should we throw away all pharmaceuticals? I don't think so. I think that, there is the pharmaceuticals have helped us, but it's becoming weaponized. And I think everything at this point, science, including science, is weaponized. Like, look at Fauci. He was literally saying, if you're against me, then you're against science, because I am the science. And obviously he was wrong and corrupt, allegedly.
Yeah, but I believe with you and Garland Farms that he is the fall guy.
Yeah.
He's a mouthpiece.
They're going to do that's just like Biden, like Biden's useless now. So I wouldn't be surprised if Biden starts getting thrown under the bus because he's useless now. Same thing with Fauci. So,
Well, you see what's happening now. They're finding all these classified documents at his home. So
Biden?
Yep.
Yeah. All of a sudden now. Past vaccines were known to cause problems in some people, and that was after testing. Yeah, I mean, my wife works in preclinical testing, and and you can just look it up. That's just straight fact. 7 to 12 years before these tested medications go to human trials. It can be up to 7 years, sometimes longer. And it's no secret that this was pushed quite rapidly. And
well, it's like the sugar in your diet, Pepsis and stuff. I forget what it's called, but at 85 degrees, it turns into formaldehyde.
really?
That was yes, it was supposed to be tested for 3 to 5 years with the Food and Drug.
Yeah.
And they paid them off, and it went out on the market.
So what turns into formaldehyde?
That sugar that they were using in the diet.
Like sugar, or diet-free sugar kind of thing. The diet ones, or just whatever sugar they were putting in?
The diet. Aspartame, that's it.
Oh, aspartame.
Yeah, at 85 degrees, it turns into formaldehyde.
I didn't know that.
Yep. And I'm sure that's what killed my husband. Because him being diabetic, he asked the doctor, I really enjoy my Pepsi. And he says, well, have the diet. And I'm there, no, have juice and tonic water, sparkling water with your juice or something.
What up, JD?
Oh, how you, Jason?
Good.
How are you?
I'm glad you're here.
Hi.
So we were just, Margaret was talking to me about aspartame and how it can be changed into friggin' formaldehyde. So I'm just Googling this to try and pop something up. I never heard of that. All right. So formaldehyde poisoning from aspartame.
Methanol.
Aspartame breaks down into methanol. Methanol quickly converts to formaldehyde in the body. Formaldehyde causes gradual and eventual severe damage to neurological system. Okay, that's horrible. Did you know about this, JD?
Yes.
I had no clue.
Another thing that aspartame does is not only does it break down into formaldehyde, it elicits an insulin response.
Yeah.
And so diabetics are consuming aspartame in an effort to avoid sugar. They're avoiding sugar because they're abusing insulin and they're building insulin resistance. And they're turning to aspartame and other artificial sweeteners I think there's one artificial sweetener that doesn't elicit an insulin response, but it's much like Pavlov's dog. You remember Pavlov's dog?
Salivate.
You ring the bell and then you feed the dog, and then ring the bell and then feed the dog, and you get into that pattern. And then you ring the bell and you don't feed the dog. You just stand there and watch him salivate, and his salivary glands are releasing saliva in anticipation of food, and your pancreas does the same thing. The sweetness of the artificial sweetener is like the ringing of the bell, and then your pancreas, in anticipation of incoming sugar, releases a dump of insulin into the bloodstream, and you end up hypoglycemic because you've got insulin in the blood that's going to do it. You can't call the insulin can't go out into the bloodstream and go look around and say, "Oh, no sugar here," or "There's no excess sugar here. Might as well go back to the pancreas." No, once you release it, it's going to do its job. So if the blood sugar is already optimal, and then you consume aspartame or some other artificial sweetener, and you dump all this insulin into the bloodstream, then your blood sugar dips below optimal, and you go into a hypoglycemia.
Yeah, I think I've said this on my stream at one point. It's a coworker, diabetic, and drinking Diet Cola. And I had mentioned, I said, by the way, just, there's no sugar in there, but I said, that still spikes your insulin, right? And he goes, really? Spikes my insulin? Good. It'll keep my sugar low. And I was like, dude, yeah, I really thought that. I do use stevia. What do you think about stevia? Like, it's supposedly it's a plant, right? Like, because I do put sometimes, artificial stevia.
I read. Well, I it's been a while since I looked over all of the insulin responses, but I do remember that there was some type of program, I think back in the 60s, where they were using stevia as a potential sterilization agent or birth control agent.
Yeah, I've had it. If it just makes you sterile, I don't care. Yeah. You were talking about like Pavlov's dog, the response and stuff like that. I even heard that if you're looking at it at a dessert or something like that, just the anticipation can even spike your insulin to a certain degree. I don't know if that's true, but
that's one of the. It's like a lot of people don't realize that the breakfast meal, the first thing in the morning meal, is a brand new phenomenon for human beings. That is not what our ancestors of any generation did until like the 50s, when about the time that Walt Disney started working for Post cereal. But you've got these circadian rhythms that your body is. If you're used to going to bed at a certain time, then your body will start anticipating that, and you'll have a hormonal and a reaction or preparation. And the same thing is true. If you've been eating a meal every day at 11:30 a.m. and you get into that pattern, and your body's used to that pattern, then your body's sitting there. You don't know it, but your circadian rhythm is sitting there looking at the watch saying, well, it's almost 11:30. He's going to be eating here in a minute. We might as well go ahead and start releasing some insulin, go ahead and start releasing some gastric, pump up the hydrochloric acid in the stomach, and maybe dump some bile into the stomach. It wants to be ready. The body is always looking for patterns so that it can anticipate things and prepare ahead of time. And so that's one of the reasons why people who fast, for instance, or try to get rid of that unnecessary breakfast meal. They wake up in the morning and their body is used to that pattern, and it's dumping digestive juices into the stomach. It's dumping insulin into the bloodstream. And if you don't give it food to deal with, then you're going to feel like crap for the first few days until your body says, maybe we're not going to have that first thing in the morning meal anymore. And if so, we're going to stop dumping all this insulin into the bloodstream. We're going to stop dumping all these gastric juices into the stomach. And then you get out of that circadian rhythm, and then you can wake up and fuel your morning with stored glycogen the way it's supposed to be, as I call it, exhaling the glycogen, spending the glycogen, burning that sugar that you consumed. Is the natural way of doing it versus what we've been taught, which is the breakfast is the most important meal of the day, and you're consuming all this sugar and starch first thing in the morning, and you've already got full glycogen stores. It's like charging a battery that's already topped off, and then also that adds to the insulin resistance because you're abusing insulin. And also, you're waking up in the morning, you're supposed to go into action, and you're filling your stomach full of food. And anytime you fill your stomach full of food, then you trigger your parasympathetic nervous system, which is also known as your rest and digest nervous system. And that decreases your cognitive abilities, it decreases your physical abilities. And it sets the stage for you to go to sleep. Is what it actually does. So but you can't. You've got your day ahead of you. So you've got to, even though your parasympathetic, your rest and digest system has been kicked on, you're supposed to be going to sleep, but you've got to go work. And so you've got your body working against itself.
Yeah, George St. Pierre, he was like a MMA fighter from Montreal. He was like not the heavyweight, but like he was the champion for a long time. And just towards the end, before he retired, he was fighting fasted, and that's what his trainer said. He goes, "Do you want to be a hungry lion, or do you want to be a fed lion when you go into the ring?" You could see when you're at work, let's say, and the calf is closed, and you're hungry, and you're like, cafeteria is closed, and you're all wide-eyed, and that's all. You're far from relaxed and chilled out. It's like try and go to sleep when you're hungry, kind of thing. So I definitely agree. To my knowledge, and this was just something I picked up, I don't know if it's true or not, but the whole breakfast is the most important meal of the day. I heard that it was Kellogg's that kind of coined that term. And Kellogg's was a Seventh-day Adventist, and they often followed vegan or very vegetarian diet, especially emphasis on if they are eating animal food, is definitely not red meat. And what I had read up about was that Kellogg's, the guy, rich family, very rich family, Kellogg's basically said that meat makes you horny, basically makes you lustful. And so he made this corn, whatever Kellogg's, Rice Krispies or something are made of. So he was pushing that because he was, we've talked about this before. When you're actually eating animal food, you're getting the fat and you're getting the cholesterol, and that's what your sex hormones are and all hormones are made of. For sure, if you have nutrient deficiencies, especially in fat and cholesterol, your libido will probably drop, like most vegans that you hear about and stuff like that. Sure. And we basically, there's a lot of kids that don't want to eat breakfast when they wake up. I know, a lot of people like, I'm not hungry, you got to eat breakfast. And like, what do they usually, give the kids some kind of sugary cereal with skim milk, because obviously you have to have skim milk. You can't have any fat because that'll kill the kid. So you could really see how, you know, I mean, that's what breakfast means, break fast. So another cool thing is that they used to, I'm sure you've seen this one, JD, growth hormone and fasting. You've seen this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As your insulin goes up, anytime you consume sugar, your insulin goes up. Insulin goes up, growth hormone goes down.
Yeah.
Insulin goes down, growth hormone goes up. And so when you're in a fasted state, your insulin goes down to base level. And
Yeah.
as a result, your growth hormone can peak.
Yeah.
And then you're one of the keystone elements of the aging process is low growth hormone. And so if you can keep everyone with their insulin topped out at all times, then you can increase the aging process of an entire generation of human beings.
Oh, I believe it. It makes total sense. And like staying in an anabolic state, you're never getting the catabolic process of autophagy that actually can causes, among other things, apoptosis of older cells, and the mass apoptosis, the cellular death, can make stem cell, create more stem cells. So definitely like a rejuvenating effect. And here you see the control group where they're usually eating probably their 3 meals, 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. So they'll say that, yeah, when you sleep, that's when growth hormone is secreted. Ask an endocrinologist. I bet you they're going to say that it has something to do with your sleep cycle. That's when growth hormone is secreted. And I bet you they don't even know that actually it appears this way because we're told to eat all throughout the day, but you get additional growth hormone spikes if you're doing 16 hours, if you're doing 1 meal a day. And also you'll see during more prolonged fasting, like a couple of days, that growth hormone, I read, stays elevated because that's kind of a signal not to catabolize muscle also. Obviously the hormones are kind of, they're signalers, and that's a constant signal to not go after the muscles.
Well, the best way to prevent your body from consuming your muscles whenever you go into a fast is to have been doing some resistance exercise. Because your body will, your body's got all kinds of algorithms that it's calculating. And if you've been using that muscle, it doesn't understand that you've been using it. You've been purposefully stressing the muscle in the gym. It thinks it's still living in nature. And so it believes that, well, we've been using this bicep and this quadricep, et cetera, pretty heavily. And if we burn that up as fuel, then we're not going to be able to survive, because we've obviously been using it to get by. And so it's hands off the muscles if you've been doing resistance exercise. If you haven't been doing resistance exercise, then you'll have some muscle loss whenever you go into especially in like a 70, 72 or 96 hour fast or more, whatever amount of muscle, it's true. If you don't use it, you lose it. And that's true when it comes to muscle and fasting. But if you've been doing resistance exercise, intense resistance exercise, then your body is not going to touch that because it sees it as
smart
survival muscle.
Yeah, that's smart. Yeah, because obviously if you don't use it, you'll lose it, because muscle is an expensive tissue also, so if you're, it's metabolically high metabolism, it takes energy. So your body, if you're in food scarcity, probably would see it as not essential, especially if you're not using it. That's good. I didn't know about that. Let me just look at some of the messages here. Gate Smasher says, when the government says that you don't need a gun and want to take yours, that's when it's time to stock up on more guns and ammo. Yeah, I mean, it's completely ridiculous in Canada, especially, that Trudeau's going after, because I don't think that we have the same gun in our constitution, but he's been pretty much taking away all these different kind of guns that farmers use, that hunters use. I mean, we have the whole prairie lands, we have the northern territories. I mean, there's a lot of hunting and farming and stuff like that. And he's basically thinks that taking away guns from farmers is going to take away guns from the criminals that are getting those guns illegally anyways. Completely ridiculous.
But I thought a judge passed a law that he can't do that.
I hope so.
I think I read that last week on Runkle the Bailey.
What's your thought about Pierre Poilievre?
Yeah.
Eh?
At first I didn't like him, but then I saw him on YouTube. He was at the airport and his flight was late.
Just today I saw that one too. Yeah. Today, right? Yeah, today or yesterday I saw that one. Yeah, I don't know. I hope that he's just not.
You got one who's very aggressive, one who's photogenic, and he's just weird. And then the other one is weak. So, like, what are we going to do?
No, well, that's it. Like, I mean, they're politicians. They're all politicians. So, but I mean, we don't have much to choose from. We have Trudeau again. That can happen. We have that Jagmeet guy.
Reminds me of a dog with a rag doll ripping it apart. Poilievre, he reminds me of a dog with a rag doll ripping it apart.
Yeah, he looks a bit dweeby, but he's definitely seems, at least that's what he's portraying himself as.
But he's had a hard life. He's had a hard life.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he was in foster homes.
I don't know. Anyways, he's the one that I'm voting on, because it's either Trudeau, this guy, or Jagmeet, whatever, from the NDP.
He's too weak.
Who, Jagmeet?
Yeah, you don't cry in public. No.
This guy teamed up with Trudeau during the Emergency Act and stuff like that. During the whole Freedom Convoy thing. They both. So he's just a little lapdog of Trudeau. He'll go wherever the power is.
I think some more than skin passed with their handshakes.
What about JD? Do you know anything like in history, looking at previous authoritarian regimes and stuff like that? What did they do stuff with with guns? Did they ban guns under the guise of safety or something?
They did it with the Scots.
Eh?
They did it with the Scots in the 1700s. They took away all their weapons. All they had was pitchforks.
Yeah, because I think this is a reoccurring thing. Did Hitler do that? No. I really have to brush up on history.
Every time that there's been a disarmament of the people, it was 100% of the time followed up with a genocide. Mm-hmm. There's not an exception in history to that.
Yeah. And people are so dumbed down now that they don't know history. They don't know their history. In fact, now it's almost like a book burning, history is being friggin' rewritten now because, whatever they ban now, and it's almost like it's just insane how one generation, it can take one generation to forget everything and to lose everything the previous generations worked for. This up and coming generation of children, oh my gosh, man, they're going to be the most confused and brainwashed and completely out of it generation, which is probably perfect. I'm just getting fed up. Like again, yesterday, just hearing people talk about farming. They're like, oh yeah, cattle farming and stuff like that. It's horrible. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, well, and then I threw out like, well, actually, I go, first of all, 9%, I kind of threw that EPA statistic. I'm like, 9% is all of agriculture. And I said 3% is livestock. So I said, plant agriculture is extremely destructive. And you can just, it's like, whatever. It's as if maybe I'm saying the truth, maybe I'm not. It just, the public, these are not even like vegans. These are like meat eaters, and they're just like so brainwashed right now that they're like, yeah, I do eat meat, but I know it's bad. And I'm like, it's really frustrating. Just reading a few more here. Okay. I wish it was that easy over here. Gate Smasher got knives and a sword and a proxy KP6. Laugh out loud. I've been around long enough to know that you can't trust the people in office. Yeah. People have to learn to do their research. Quit just taking their word as gospel. That's why I need a lightsaber for the alien invasion. That's a good one.
And that will be coming.
Yep. Well, you know my thoughts on that.
If you read Von Braun's deathbed prediction, he said there will be 3 epidemics: skirmishes, war, and then an alien invasion. Then he told his daughter, but the last don't believe that. That would be Black Ops.
Yeah. Well, there's even that technology, like hologram technology, that they could even do like a fake alien invasion just with holograms and stuff like that. You should see I think it might be China or something, the firework display, but it's not even like firework display. It's all done with drones, and it like made like really detailed pictures. And there's what is it, Blue Beam? I haven't looked into that. Isn't it Project Blue Beam or something like that? It's to put things like that appear real, but they're basically
like in India. They've had the natural moon, and they put up another moon.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and the people were freaking out.
Get my brother's ears going. Huh? Another moon? Just going through a few more. Yeah, that's crazy about the aspartame though, turning into formaldehyde.
Your stevia, that you can get 50 to 300 times more than you would in the sugar. The taste. Wow. Yeah.
I mean, I don't mind if stevia spikes insulin, because it's rare that I'll take it. I rather spike insulin and not have the carb though. I'm not really worried about insulin resistance, but it's still processed. My wife's sister grew stevia in her backyard, and you can just drop the leaves in there, and it tastes sweet. So I try and use stevia if I do want something sweet, but it's not used. Even that I'm not using it all the time. Star Hunter, a 1 meal a day warrior. That's what I do most days. Cereal, bones, bone deflectors, low fat meal equals weak bones. Bye bye testosterone. Yes, I completely agree. I'm paraplegic. I don't get any exercise. I do resistance with rubber bands for upper body. Good for you, man. Break your fast to a bowl of low-fat milk and cereal, a bowl of hormone destruction. Well, I guess I'm glad everyone's aware of that. They don't know the nature of reality, so they teach as if they know to hold their position. Most aliens are okay. In fact, they're scared of us. Why did you date one? look at how many times there's been a epidemic in history to change the narrative. Even the Bible came under attack. That's not a moon, it's a Death Star. I learned from my native elders the right herbs to use. Well, I mean, a lot of the medications are I mean, aspirin comes from a plant. There's a lot of a lot of medicines are basically, you know, a cool thing in the Bible. You know how there's like translations. There's a lot of translations, and people criticize that there's a lot of translations, but those translations are always going to the original scriptures that they have, the oldest ones. So it's always being translated from there. But sorcery, a lot of places in the Bible where it says sorcery, if you look at it, and I've showed this previously in a live stream, it's pharmakia. It's in Greek. So anytime you see sorcery in the New Testament, it's from the Greek word pharmakia. And at one point, it somewhere in the Bible, it talks about how the leaders deceived the nations with sorcery. But if you actually translate it, it's the nations being deceived by pharmakia. I have it somewhere. It's another video I want to make from that, but it's kind of an interesting side note. So just want to read. I saw your video, JD, the last one, again, about the meat with the World Economic Forum.
Which one?
I think it was your last one. I'm not gonna play it because I want people to go see it, but I'll pop it up. Arms. Okay, you. I think it's. Is it the vegan body shaming? No. I saw that one, but did I hallucinate? Here, I may as well just share screen. Make sure to subscribe to Garland Farms. I'm sure everybody here is already subscribed. So this is your latest one. It's not that one. Could it have been this one? Yeah.
Hello and welcome back to the Garland Farms channel.
Do you mind if I play it? It's still new. Do you want me not to play it? Because then.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's okay.
Hello and welcome back to the Garland Farms channel. In case you're not aware, our globalist overlords, the World Economic Forum, is back in Switzerland right now discussing, amongst other things, how to reduce global meat consumption and convince the people to eat insects. Here, have a listen to what they're saying.
If you step back, though, when you look at, if you took the caloric production today and you had no food waste and no food loss or waste, and you had people consuming the right amount of calories, the amount of food produced today would actually be sufficient to feed the world till 2040. And so there are a range of different things we need to explore, increasing agricultural production, but also tackling food loss and waste, tackling overconsumption, and also tackling distribution of food and trade around that as well. So very pressing in short term, longer term, systemic changes, which actually might be able to bring a number of solutions to bear.
We're going to need to produce 70% more food with 5% of arable lands. And I truly believe that technology can play a part. In the same way that we found new ways to produce energy in a different way, we can produce protein in a different way. And so insect is the world leader of insect protein. And we have a solution that helps with fertilizer, and it's chemical free, but as well as feeding animals. So in a first step, you would reduce basically the climate impact of feeding animals today so that people can eat in a more preserving planet type of way. And then eventually feeding people also with insects is part of the solution. Because You mentioned reducing the calorie intake. Agree with that. We all know that we need to become more conscious of eating more vegan product and less meat protein. But you also know, and nutritionists will tell you, that as part of your diet, all of us, to be healthy, need to also have an intake of animal protein. And of all animal, insects are actually the ones that are more climate friendly.
It's a very important point that you are addressing. My daughter, 24, inspired me and said, Dad, how can you advocate for these zero carbon value chains if you still eat meat? So I stopped eating meat. Now the math would say, well, you need to stop eating meat 11 years to compensate for a flight to Thailand. Yes, but if 1 billion people stop eating meat, I tell you, it has a big impact. Not only does it have a big impact on the current food system, but it will also inspire innovation of food systems. And I predict that we will have proteins not coming from meat in the future. They will probably taste even better. So why are we trying to mimic meat if we can have a better taste? They will be zero carbon and much healthier than the kind of food that we eat today.
So listen, I'm all for body shaming emaciated vegans. It draws attention to the mental and physical degeneration caused by veganism. However, if you've got an anti-vegan platform and you're not bothering to inform the people about the WEF and their plans, then you're not telling them the whole truth. In the near future, just being aware of vegan degeneration is not going to cut it. We need the people of the world to come together and unite against a WEF global vegan mandate. Anyway, that about does it for today. Thank you for watching, commenting, liking, and subscribing. And I'll see you on the next one.
Great video, GD.
Well, this is stupid.
His video? I liked it.
No, eating
no,
bugs. There are no more bugs. When you used to drive your car and have to pull into a gas station to clean off your windshield from the bug juice. You don't get that now. So how are you going to eat bugs? There's no more bugs left.
Well, they're talking about growing mealworms like we grow cattle. What do you feed mealworms? You know what? They already do sell mealworms commercially, and you've got to provide them a substrate, and what that usually is oatmeal, right? So they're telling us if we don't raise livestock, then we won't have to grow all these grains to feed the livestock. So let's feed you mealworms. Meanwhile, what are they feeding? What are they feeding the mealworms? Grains. So no matter what, in fact, I have reduced my feed, even my winter feed now, down to 0. I raise goats and cattle, and I am raising them 100% off of the natural forages on my property year round. And there, people don't understand that these animals do not require us to grow crops for them. If you manage their pasture behavior in the right way, which is regenerative rotational grazing, whether it's chickens, pigs, cattle, goats, it all works the same way. You keep them together, you keep them moving, you give a particular spot a rest. Once you move off of it, by the time you move back, the forage has come back and then some.
You rotate.
Yeah, you rotate, and it's better. It's more dense. It's more nutritious because every time you move the livestock through, they fertilize it and they set the stage for increased carbon in the soil, increased nutrition, every time they make the rotation. And so, I have vegans coming on my channel saying, well, you're saying that the vegan menu requires all these crops and that the crops are destroying the environment and driving species into extinction, but livestock require crops. And no, they don't. Livestock do not require crops. When 250 years ago, the North American continent was completely covered. It was blanketed in huge herds of pronghorn antelope, bison, deer, elk, moose. The list just really goes on and on of these ruminant animals that were huge million head herds that would move around like a giant amoeba, consuming the natural forages and leaving behind all kinds of fertilizers. And that's why in the beginning, all of the soil that we had on this continent was black and full of carbon. It was rich. And now with all of the monocropping of the corn, which is primarily grown for human consumption, either as ethanol or high fructose corn syrup, or even, alcohol, beverage alcohol. Also, the soybeans are grown first and foremost for the oil. Soybean is known as an oil seed. Look it up. It's an oil seed. And that's where most of the revenue comes from, is from the oil. Well, guess what? Almost 100% of the soybeans are processed to remove the oil from the soybeans. And 100% of that oil is consumed by humans, either in the food, like processed food ingredients, as cooking oil, or as a biodiesel. And they try to categorize the biodiesel and the soybean meal, which is the leftover inedible refuse. Once you squeeze the oil out, you've got this fibrous junk that humans can't digest, so they feed it to animals. They used to pile it up and burn it, but their excuse, or the lie that the vegans and the globalists are telling, is that all of these crops are grown to feed the livestock. But if managed differently, managed like back in the old days, there are no crops required to feed these animals. I'll tell you one thing that Joel Salatin said one time that would be a great idea is, these restaurants. Imagine every time you go into a restaurant and you look around and you watch people leave after they've eaten, there's whole plates of food there that people are throwing, that the restaurant has to throw away. Joel Salatin said, what if every restaurant had a chicken coop out back, and all of that food was taken to the chickens, or all of that food was taken to the pigs, and we take all, and it doesn't have to be right there.
That's
What?
smart.
We used to do that, but then something happened. People left their plastic cutlery in with the food, and so then they stopped it. That was their excuse.
Yeah, that's an excuse. The fact of the matter is all of that food is thrown into it goes into the landfills.
Yeah.
That is a huge wasted resource. We could be feeding livestock with that leftover food that is otherwise going to waste and being thrown away.
Yeah.
And so the whole livestock feed industry could be completely wiped out if we just took our leftovers and fed it to the chickens and the pigs. Then we wouldn't need all of this soybean meal, and you'd have to find some other way to use it. I have a great solution for that, and what that is go out and spread it around in the pastures. Build soil carbon with the soybean. As we phase out soybean farming, as we phase we don't have to phase out corn farming altogether, but we've got to decrease it by a large margin. We really only need maybe 10% of the corn that we're growing, because a lot of it is going to ethanol production. And ethanol production, they're putting ethanol in the gasoline. All that really does is reduce the shelf life of the gas. It's a net negative, as far as you've got to consider all of the pesticides and fertilizers and the diesel that's spent with the tractors and the harvesters. By the time you put the ethanol into the gas, you've already spent more fuel than you're going to replace with the ethanol that you're spiking the gas with. I've got a farm here. I've got, probably 15 different motors that I have to maintain. And every one of them that I'm using the regular gas that's spiked with ethanol, it's really hard to keep them going, because if you don't use it on a regular basis, then that ethanol, which is an alcohol is so water hungry. It's always sucking water in, and so it sucks water into the gas tank, and then that causes the ethanol to separate from the regular petroleum gasoline, and then the ethanol begins to basically turn back into corn, and you get a carburetor that's completely clogged up with this yellow crusty stuff that requires either buying a new carburetor or a very energy hungry process to clean the carburetor out. Ethanol production is a complete joke.
Oh, that's interesting. What up, Alias? Crazy Music Space Jam. I didn't know that was also Alias. Jason John Suarez, yellow smiling trophy. All right, so I'm just going to bring this down. Yeah, so far for the annual meeting, I looked at just the opening statement, JD, nothing special there, just repeating multiple crises, blah, blah, blah. Then I looked at a conversation with Satya. I'm going to try and look through them all and maybe start doing like just a few resumes of summaries of kind of.
Does His Highness want to come on? I see person turquoise waiting.
Just a minute, because I just posted the link. Did somebody say they wanted to go on? Because I posted the link. They can just press it. I'll repost it. Yeah, guys, if anybody wants to come on, I'm probably going to go till 8:30, maybe a little longer. My wife says she's arriving around 8:30. We've been going an hour and a half. So definitely once she arrives, I'm out of here. I promise. No, I'm not going to say that. And then 7 hours later, we're watching What is a Woman on Daily Spike.
Okay, while you're doing that, I wanted to add some things to what you said about the cereal, because I actually I wrote a book about this about 15 years ago, and it's a book about that thick. I never did bother publishing it, but you were talking about Kellogg. Kellogg was only one of three major Seventh-day Adventists at the time. The other two were Post, and I don't remember his first name, but you remember Post, like Post Toasties.
Yeah.
And Graham Cracker, Dr. Graham. So Graham, Post, and Kellogg, they were all Seventh-day Adventists, and they all they believed that man could live forever if it weren't for sin. And they believed that the sin that was actually killing everyone was masturbation. And they did notice when you took the red meat out of the diet and added cereal to the diet, then there was a decrease in libido. And that was in the very beginning. breakfast cereal was marketed as an anti-masturbation remedy. If you look into it, look up Kellogg penis cage, and he patented a whole bunch of different genital cages that he would apply to little boys and little girls in order to prevent masturbation. In
like
fact,
like a chastity belt.
yeah, but he would like one of the things he would do would be he would circumcise little boys, and he wouldn't use. I mean, we're talking about like 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old boys, and circumcise them, but never administer any anesthesia because he wanted it to hurt. And he said that the pain would serve as a salutary effect to the fact that this was punishment.
Yeah.
For little girls, what he would do is he would use carbolic acid, and he would cauterize the clitoris with carbolic acid in order to prevent little girls from touching themselves. This was Kellogg. And then they wised up. They actually discovered that if you had like a cartoon mascot, then it was very effective marketing. And so that is how Walt Disney got his start, was working for Post Cereal. And that's where originally, like, Mickey Mouse got his start on the cover, the boxing, the marketing of cereal, Post Cereal. And that's also why, if you go back and look at a lot of Walt Disney's work, he anthropomorphizes animals. Like, if you go back and watch Bambi, you'll see that they really demonize hunters, and they try to give all of these natural human prey animals human qualities, and it's all based on creating a mentality that human beings that eat animals are bad.
Yeah, I think I've heard that somewhere. The Wild Stories of John Harvey Kellogg. So you can see this in my share screen.
Yeah.
Wow, I'm impressed. I didn't forget. The eccentric wellness guru who invented cornflakes, Dr. John Harvey Kellogg, used a host of bizarre methods to prevent masturbation and cleanse his patients' colons at the Battle Creek Sanitarium. I guess he do his experiments in psych wards?
Well, this sanitarium was actually a lot of well-to-do people would go to it. There was even a movie made about it.
A cure for wellness. You're talking about these health places, right?
Yeah.
The movie? Yeah, here. It's I think it's called Cure for Wellness.
The Road to Wellville.
Oh, it's not this one? A Cure to Wellness. This one was kind of about like it's like a getaway, but it's, to improve your health, but everyone that was there just kept on getting sicker and sicker, so they were making people sick. Which one was yours?
I mean, obviously, if you go, anyone that's consuming the Seventh-day Adventist diet is going to be getting sicker and sicker over time. But look up, we should watch the trailer. It's called The Road to Wellville. And it was kind of a comedy based on the Kellogg Sanitarium.
I should have did this on
Where
YouTube.
does people come from? My God.
Sure.
I think their mother dropped them on their head or something.
Here's the trailer.
Do you masticate, Mr. Lightbody?
Doing what? Chew, chew, chew. That is the Wellville Health Resort. A place for healing.
Bend over a little bit, please.
For cleansing.
I like to look at the new ladies.
and most of all, sex.
I hardly recognize you with your clothes on.
Anthony Hopkins, Bridget Fonda, Matthew Broderick, John Cusack, and Dana Carvey in an Alan Parker film, The Road to Wellville, rated R.
Gotta check that out. That's funny. Here. So this guy, as a leading figure in the American hygiene movement, John Harvey Kellogg espoused a holistic approach to health and wellness, but he also believed genital mutilation was an appropriate anti-masturbation measure. He looks a little puffy, this guy. He doesn't look like he's fat.
He's a little bit fat. Yeah.
Yeah, he's pudgy.
You have no muscles.
No. For a simple American breakfast staple, Kellogg's Corn Flakes has a surprisingly sordid past. John, I don't want to read through it. At the same time, America saw a rise in temperance groups like the Seventh-day Adventists, whose main campaigns were against alcohol and sex. The combination of extreme hygiene and abstinence heavily influenced Kellogg's theories on health and wellness. All the inventions and devices ever constructed by the human hand or conceived by the human mind, no matter how delicate, how intricate and complicated, are simple, childish toys compared with that most marvelously wrought mechanism, the human body. Well, anyways, yeah. So a cereal so bland it hampers sexual desire. Yeah, as a kid, I remember, like, if I had to eat that, I'd just layer it with sugar, lots and lots of sugar.
Yeah, and more than being bland in taste, it's bland in nutrients.
Yeah, no, there's nothing in it.
Yeah.
But that's the most important meal of the day. Make sure to break your fast with nutrientless food. So you guys can check out this a little bit more if you're interested. Kellogg's.
Oh, there's some penis cages.
Yeah, I didn't want to go too much on that, but
just at the images. You're not going to get any like.
I got some. If I scroll a little lower, I got some weird ones.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Added gadgets on it, let's just say. Why do they still have this?
I don't know. I didn't know that they did.
Like, why do they still have this? Jeez.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's the kind of lunacy that vegan, the foundation, basically talking about the original vegan movement is, the Seventh-day Adventists, Kellogg, Graham, and Post. And these people were quacks going all the way back. They've always been quacks. It's just nothing but a bunch of, at this point, it's turned from just people who don't know what they're doing to straight up malice. And now veganism is just straight up malice.
Yeah.
Because of the association with misanthropy.
That's this really anti-human movement that are deceptive too at the same time, because they know it. They know. There's just one thing I was kind of looking at. I was looking for a video.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's just this one kind of got me wondering. Freedom Grower was talking about don't spill seed, play guitar. A lot of the New Ager stuff too, like the beliefs, and kind of the Eastern. They're also, again, like for abstinence and stuff like that. Spiritually, you're closer to God if you don't have sex and stuff like that. I don't know. I mean, I don't agree with pornography. I think that can be destructive. But I don't know. I hear Christians talk about masturbation and stuff like that. There's nothing in the Bible really. I don't know. Seems to me if you're a guy, can't get a girlfriend for years, like what? Like, I'm just being honest. Like, you're not supposed to react to that. Like,
Well,
doesn't
do we
seem
don't
normal.
aren't you aware that the rate of prostate cancer goes down with
Yeah.
the quantity of or the frequency of ejaculation in men? So if you're going to be completely abstinent and you're never going to ejaculate, then your chances of
Yeah.
prostate cancer skyrocket.
Yeah. Ejaculation and prostate cancer. Well, anyways, if you ain't gonna eventually do that, you're gonna do it in your dreams. I mean, guys,
Yeah, they have wet dreams.
Yeah, it's
going to happen one way or another.
Frequency. I'm trying to here. I'll share screen. There. Let's see. Does frequent ejaculations reduce your risk for prostate cancer? There's exciting news on the prostate cancer front. If you ejaculate frequently, your risk of getting prostate cancer may be reduced. How often is frequent? A study at Harvard Medical School says 21 times a month. Jeez, I don't know if I can keep up with that statistic. A similar Australian. Yeah, exactly. That's statistics for young kids. That's for 18-year-olds. A similar Australian study points to 7 times a week. But there's a catch. One study suggests it's only an effective preventative measure in men age 50 and older. Keep reading to learn more. Says here it increases the risk of carpal tunnel, though. I'm joking. All right.
Interesting.
What are we still screen sharing?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So I watched this one for 30 minutes. What were they talking about? This is the CEO of Microsoft. So he was really talking about the coming next phase is the new revolution is really the deployment of artificial intelligence, quantum mechanics, blockchain, and that this won't be a linear. We're reaching an exponential development, speech translation tech. I mean, none of this necessarily sounds bad, but again, we know it's going to be used against us. Speech translation. It's funny that now that we're becoming pretty much one language with all of this technology. There's that Bible verse. I won't look it up, but when everyone was getting together, building the Tower of Babel before when we were all of one language and stuff like that, and like the Bible verse says, like we gotta confound the languages. We gotta confuse them and make them not understand each other, because if they all speak one language, then whatever they put their mind to will be at their grasp, kind of thing. And yeah, pretty much now with the technology, we can use these translation technologies, and just, you can talk to somebody from be friends on Messenger with somebody that speaks another language. They were talking a lot about cybersecurity. They're pushing the metaverse as a global community, so want to incorporate more platforms, let's say at work and stuff like that, using the a global community, but like inside the metaverse. They were talking about reducing the carbon footprint of AI. I guess these big computers, quantum computers, I know for a fact they all have like these large cooling systems. So it's how to minimize the carbon footprint. Something called carbon accounting, which I looked up here. So it's just basically keeping track of carbon emissions.
But Canada, we only put out 3%. I saw on the world map.
Right. So, and here it looks like it's like big companies keeping like an account of their carbon emissions. But if you look, this can apply to us. So company facilities, that's our home, our car, purchase electricity, heating, cooling, that has to do with our homes, purchasing of goods, fuel, transportation, waste, travel, lease assets, all of these things. So on this one, it's kind of like, looking at big companies, but yeah, sure. Big companies. Yeah. Okay. Maybe they'll be doing it for big companies, but they'll be basically carbon counting us as well. Carbon accounting. That's something that they brought up in the lecture. That one.
When my father went to Denmark to visit his family,
yeah,
one of my uncles, the building inspector, went to his home.
Okay.
And reminded him that he had to change the filter on his chimneys. So why don't we do that here?
Yeah, I don't know. They seem more preoccupied with us not eating meat than other things. Yeah, it is a business model. Yeah, they're talking about like education and agriculture, adding AI to it. And then after, as for network, AI will give you info. Yeah, it's saying, that once you're in the metaverse and you're using this to create networks and stuff like that, you'll be able to share information, but not only that, you'll be able to have contacts of who to contact in relation to that specific topic, which, pretty much is kind of like, yeah, you know what, we'll put the professionals and the scientists that we want you to be in contact with, and those not following the narrative, we won't have you contact those people. Then after, there was one on transforming medicine that I watched. So far, I haven't seen any like big, like, wow, I gotta really share this kind of thing. This was the one that I was watching, Transforming Medicine, Redefining Life. That was going a lot into biotechnology, nanotechnology, personalized medicine. So when you're getting to personalized medicine and preventative medicine, they're talking big time about biometrics. So that's actual, whether it's on something that we wear or eventually something that will be implanted that monitors all of our biometrics. And I'm sure with technology, they'll be able to just monitor pretty much freaking everything from brain waves to everything. They talked about unlocking the secrets of the human brain. They talked about first having wearable interfaces, but eventual implantations. They were talking stuff like, wouldn't it be cool if you have an electrical encephalogram that can measure your brain waves, then that's in your ear pods.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I know. In Stanford, one of the ladies up on that panel was talking about the newest department is bioengineering. She was talking a lot about synthetic biology. So engineering synthetically our biological systems and reconstituting life itself. That's a bold statement. That's
This is
a
kind of
bold
scary though,
statement.
because if you get an implant, can't they just turn you off if you
Yep,
step out of line?
sure. Yeah. They won't tell us that, but that's definitely something that they could do easily. They were talking about engineering immune systems to fight cancer. Instead of saying like, okay, well, all of these modern diseases that we have at epidemic levels, cancer, diabetes, heart disease, all of this. Why don't we use synthetic biology and manipulate our genetics and play with our immune system so we can fight cancer instead of like going and acknowledging all of the cancerous stuff in our diet, from what we're eating, the amount that we're eating, the frequency, everything, that the chemicals that we drink in plastic bottles, everything, every single thing. No, what we'll do is we're going to reconstitute the human body itself and start playing with our immune systems to fight cancer. I don't know. Seems like a dangerous route. They even were talking not only about brain surveillance, but gut surveillance. And they were talking a lot about bringing the hospitals into the home. So it seems like everything, like a very subtle thing I'm seeing is that everything to minimize our movements. It's like, no, go to the metaverse. You can stay home. You can, wear your boxer shorts to the meeting and you'll have your like big furry avatar during the meeting or something. So stay home, do your meetings at the metaverse. You know what? We're going to bring the hospitals to you guys. Just stay in your homes, and that goes with the climate lockdowns. You guys have heard of that, climate lockdowns?
Yeah, and the 15-minute cities.
Yeah, 15-minute cities, smart cities, then 15-minute cities, making districts. So kind of like making districts where you're allowed like 100 times to leave your district per year. You need to ask for permission to leave certain districts. Obviously, they'll probably, it reminds me of, what was it, In Time or something, where there's different districts and you have like the very rich in districts and the very poor at the other extreme, and they can't pass into the other districts and stuff like that. But yeah, climate lockdowns, I've heard a lot about that. They're like, wow, look at how Mammy Earth appreciated us being locked down the past, 2 years with the lockdowns, and look at how everything's improved and stuff when we weren't doing anything. So why don't we just lock people down? So that's something on the horizon, I guess.
Côte Saint Luc is a 15-minute city.
Eh?
Yeah, Côte Saint Luc.
Yeah?
Yep.
What, they're making that?
Yeah, it's on a trial run.
Oh yeah, they're doing this like everywhere, like doing little mini projects and stuff like that. There's also virtual AI trials for medication, which I'm not too sure what they were trying to get at with that, but it's basically continual monitoring. So they need more and more data, biometrics, and they said it is a way of getting drugs out faster. When they talked about predictive medicine, that kind of like reminded me of a bit of eugenics. So once they have all these biometrics and genetic information, they'll be able to do predictive medicine. So they can tell genetically before even the baby's born what kind of I mean, that's not new. They've already been able to do genetic testing, but the question was, will the data that they get from these biometrics, will this be available to insurance companies, to your employer? So I'm like, well, what happened to medical privacy? Like, why are you even discussing whether that's a topic? And my fear is eugenics, which is, murdering or sterilization of population with anything that is abnormal, from diseases to even just lower intelligence. So that, I can see the eugenics aspect as a potential. And those are the three that I watched so far. I'll continue trying to watch them and take anything that's pertinent. I can play the one that I just did.
Wow.
But then you still have to go press it because I want the views. Present.
Also, when you're traveling on the highway,
Yeah.
when you use the on-off ramps, have you noticed the purple lights?
No, not yet. What are those?
At first, they said it was an error in the shipping,
Mm-hmm.
but it monitors if you have Bluetooth or your phone on. It
Are you serious?
monitors you. Yes.
I'm always listening to some podcasts when I'm driving. I guess I can't do that soon. Here you go.
What I felt could have been way better for all was if the restrictions in trade were not imposed. They were imposed by fear, but there was not a single country that they had full sovereignty, as you said it, in the manufacturing. Because although were doing in the beginning in Europe or in the US, the components were made all over the world, and they were unique. There were pieces that we had to import from Europe to the US, from UK to Europe, from from China, from India, from all over the world. That if any of them was closing as a retaliation, you're not allowing me to export vaccine, I'm not allowing you to receive nanoparticles. I'm not allowing you to receive nanoparticles.
Yeah, that's all. Just a short one. I was just surprised when I heard about nanoparticles and stuff like that. I was like, oh. So did you guys know about nanoparticles in vaccines? I didn't. I knew about,
I
the
heard about it, but I didn't want to believe it. I don't know if they're in there. Maybe that's what the blue dots are.
yeah, maybe. Well, that's what I was thinking when you're like, those blue dots. I'm like, nanoparticles, or I mean, the nanoparticles are so small. I don't even think you can see them like under a microscope almost, or something like that. It's like pretty crazy. Great discussion. Talk about life and liberty. Just reading Gate Smasher. Gotta run. All right, man. Have a good night. Yeah. What else? Anything else? We've talked about penis cages, ejaculation, the typical topics. Anything else to add?
Hey, I left a link, a YouTube link in the private chat.
Okay.
And that is a link to
I don't know.
You want to listen to it?
Yeah, but you don't have your screen sharing on right now.
Yeah, I'll do it.
But yeah, this is it relates to what you said earlier about them, the World Economic Forum, kind of hoping that we'll rebel and resort to violence.
Yeah.
There is a solution that's not violent. It may require defense, but
You're going to tell us after?
yeah,
Okay. We'll try and stop it a little bit. Feel free to stop it so we don't get like a strike, at least if we're commenting as we go. Like if I play it through a NBC, I might get a strike, but if we stop it and discuss, then it's fine.
I don't know how it will play out in November, but what we know is that we will end up with many more unemployed, and particularly also people in the gray economy, which are not counted for, who lose their jobs. So we will see definitively a lot of anger already now, but
I like how he just says, a lot of people, lose their job. People will be angry, but in the end, they'll be happy. They'll be happier for it.
yeah.
probably.
Well, that's kind of like what Noah Harari said. He goes, when the fourth industrial revolution comes and AI and everything's out there, it's that it's not that they will enslave us to do like hard labor. It's that we're irrelevant. That the AI can do that. So you guys are like really useless. Like we don't even need you to become our slave. We just, you're just useless. And on top of it, you're taking resources and space away, which I find is dangerous.
But in Japan, with the 4 robots that they made, killed 29 of their scientists that were making the robots.
Yeah, I saw that, but I didn't look into it. I didn't know if it was. I just saw the headline also. Like, did you
So
read
if
it?
their robots turn
Oh,
against them, they're really screwed because there's nobody to help them.
So what? Okay, so the scientists, they made 29 robots, and what did the robots do?
4 of their robots killed 29
Jeez.
in the lab. They were
Okay.
training them or something.
Wow.
One was beaten with a broom till death.
It's not funny, but
No,
it's like at this point you gotta laugh.
your Wile E. Coyote cartoon.
No, exactly. Jeez.
Increased by the end of the year, because this crisis will be with us until we really have found a remedy. So we have to prepare for a more angry world, and
A more angry world.
It means to take the necessary action to create a fair.
So if we're going to have a more angry world, we need to take the necessary actions. What's that?
Yeah, what he's basically doing is he's confessing to the fact that he's attempting to rob all of us blind.
Yeah.
And we're going to be angry as a result of that. And so he wants to prepare to deal with our anger that's going to result from his draconian thievery and veganism.
To see that we provide everybody with decent access to the health system.
Pause it.
Go ahead.
He wants to make sure that we have decent access to the health system. Let me translate that for you. Mandatory mRNA technology. That's what he means by that. He wants to make sure that that's accessible to everyone. In other words, your private medical business is no longer your private medical business. Now you're part of the global communist community. We're going to make this communist medical establishment accessible to you, which means we're going to force it upon you.
Yeah, and I can see it. the fact that like medical privacy will be out because everything will be biometrics and stuff like that. And then if you are unhealthy, then you're wasting resources. You're putting undue stress on the whole. So like, are you going to get taxed for that? You know, like there's a way of spying on us. And I believe that social credit score that's in China is that's going to be everywhere, and that will play on your social credit. Like what if every baby now is analyzed genetically to see if they have any birth defects, and if you as a parent choose to still have that child with a high probability of some genetic abnormality, then you're going to get either your social credit score will go down, or you'll get taxed or something like that because you've made a decision that is putting undue stress on the health system. I mean, it's a little far-fetched, but just kind of trying to brainstorm ideas where things can go. But I definitely see eugenics coming, rebranded, repackaged eugenics. The fact that they're no longer looking at individual rights and everything is about the collective good, eugenics just makes perfect sense to come back on the scene.
Here's the twist is that originally eugenics were being employed in an effort to improve the human organism.
Yeah.
Now what they're trying to do is they're trying to use eugenics to split the human organism into two different species, so that you have the ruling class, the 0.001% that lives over 100 years. They're big and they're strong and they're intelligent. And then you have the pleb class, which is 99.99% of the population, and they're small and they're weak and they're stupid, and they have a lifespan of about 33, 34 years.
Oh, they could definitely bioengineer those kind of people.
This is not good. It's unscientific, and it's racist.
Wow, it's satanic. It's demonic to the core, which is pretty much what these guys are. Here, I'll go again.
The Nazis were doing that.
Yeah, the Nazis was a birth pain compared to probably what they would like to. I mean, his father, Klaus Schwab's father, was a Nazi. Of course, if you go fact check that, of course, that's not true.
That those people who are really left behind, and I'm not speaking only on national levels, I'm speaking also internationally. If I see now the tragedy in some of the emerging countries like South Africa, like some countries in East Asia, I think it's all, I don't have too many remedies. The remedies have to be discussed through dialogue by the stakeholders of our global system.
Yeah, you see what I mean? I don't have any remedies, but it's the stakeholders that are going to decide.
Yeah, and there's a famous quote by Mussolini that goes something along the lines of the definition of fascism is the merging of the corporate and the government.
Yeah.
And that's what he's talking about. The stakeholders are the corporations like JBS, Tyson Foods, McDonald's, Pfizer, Merck, Bayer, Toyota, Chevrolet.
Yeah.
You know, these are the stakeholders, are the top 2,000 or so corporations globally.
Yeah.
The banks.
Yeah.
I
think I've been hearing
Communist Party of China.
BlackRock. Yeah, I have to look into them, but I heard about BlackRock, and it's some company. I think they own
Vanguard?
10% of the world's money, basically. 10% of all of the world's currency is held by BlackRock, and there's some firm that does risk analysis, among other things, I'm sure, but that's primarily it. Just give me a second, guys. I'll just play this. My wife's here.
But I just see the need for such a dialogue, and I see the need for action. I see the need for a great reset.
To what extent would a reset be brought about by a change in the White House, the election of Joe Biden, for instance?
I don't know.
Joe Biden is a demented puppet of mine. He's in my sock drawer. My sock. So I didn't have the accent, but the image was funny.
First, we shouldn't speculate about the outcome of the election. We will see beginning of November, and then we can, in any case, we can, and the World Economic Forum is a very open and as an open platform to integrate everybody who is willing to address those issues in a spirit, which means to exercise here true global citizenship.
I want to just pick up on some of the
global citizenship.
Yeah. So.
Oh, you're talking about something.
Yeah, I'm doing a live stream. Good thing you didn't do anything embarrassing.
Yeah, I didn't.
My son's giving me a hug. He didn't know that he was on a live stream. Sorry, I lost track. They were saying global citizenship.
Yeah, global citizenship. You know, the key there is that, you know, we've been like the conservatives in the United States, the Trump enthusiasts have been tricked because they're the same people that have been supporting U.S. military action all over the world under the guise of spreading democracy.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the United States is not a democracy. We're a constitutional republic.
Yeah.
And the reason why that's important is because the Constitution does not give us our rights. The Constitution puts the government on notice and tells the government what their limitations are based on our God-given rights. Those rights are God-given. They're not given by the government.
Yeah.
And so a democracy, when you boil it down, is basically two wolves and a sheep deciding what to have for dinner. Because there is no constitution that puts government on notice or sets limitations on what government can do. In a democracy, you can be deemed part of the population that is a useless eater, a useless carbon footprint, and they'll give you that one option. You can either willfully take the euthanasia, or we will force it upon you. You have those two choices as a recipient of democratic justice, because the majority has spoken, and the majority has decided that you are a useless carbon footprint. And that's the difference. And that's the reason why Klaus Schwab wants everyone to be a global citizen, because the global government is a democracy, which is based on electronic voting machines.
Yeah,
and electronic voting machines are under considerably less oversight than your average electronic gambling machine in Las Vegas.
Yeah. I don't trust those electronic machines at all. Yeah. What's up? I'm almost done. We're for real. We're going through this 4 minutes left, and then I said we arrived at
I gotta do dishes. I don't have time today.
All right, there you go.
projections. In your book, you tackle what the future may look like. And at this stage, we're all grappling with various letters of the alphabet, whether it's a V or a U or perhaps even a symbol, a tick shape. Can you just give us some clues about the growth down the track?
What did she say? A what shape?
I can't understand what her script is telling her to say.
Right.
A tick shape. Can you just give us
A tick shape.
clues?
It could have went to the
Like a spike?
With various letters of the alphabet, whether it's a V or a U or perhaps even a symbol, a tick shape. Can you just give us some clues
I
about
heard D instead of T.
the growth down the track, what we can expect?
I did.
First, if you look at it at a national or global level, at a macroeconomic level, one of the things we address very much in the book and we are concerned is the increased debt level.
All he's missing is like a nice big soft cat that he
Yeah,
strokes as he speaks.
in Bond movies.
Yeah. Or Inspector Gadget cartoons, you remember?
Dr. Evil.
Yeah, the guy and the cat used to love it. Anyways.
We spend about 10 trillion worldwide to deal with the short-term negative effects of the pandemics. But we should be aware.
You notice he said the pandemics?
Mm-hmm.
He didn't say pandemic, he said the pandemics.
We are just increasing our debt situation. And we were already very much debt loaded before we went into the crisis. So how to get at the end out of this debt situation is still a big question mark. Second, we know that there's quite some impact on different industries. We know that certainly the health industry, the digital industry will go out of this crisis strengthened. But we know that many industries which rely particularly on physical interaction will have difficulties to survive.
Yeah, remember, like I said, the industries that rely on physical interactions, they're going out, Again, they just want to keep us communicating through screens like this, which is not healthy.
Finally, I just would add, I think this is an opportunity again to find solutions which are beneficial for the next generation. So why not to tie government aid to the green economy which we have to create? Why not to make sure that we revolutionize, digitalize particularly our education system? So we are here when
So everything is stay at home. Staying at home and learning over Zoom is horrible. I know with what they're doing in schools now, the propaganda, teaching these really delusional ideologies and putting all sorts of things in children's head. My wife's daughter, she's homeschooling the children. If I had children right now, because my boys are 16, 17, they're Josiah is finishing his last year in adult school, but I would never put my children into daycare, would never put them into any schools anymore. They're completely degenerate. The kids aren't learning anything. At best, it's just horrible influences, just drugs. Nothing good is happening. The teachers don't teach anything. The whole school system is useless.
we talk about the Great Reset, to talk also about innovation. How can we do things differently from what we used to do? And if we speak about differently, it means also how can we do it to make sure that a majority of people are benefiting from it
and not just a minority.
Mhm.
We started out Davos this year talking about the environment, Greta Thunberg versus Donald Trump. There's certainly a lot of headlines crossing from the.
I'm so fed up of hearing about Greta Thunberg.
Oh yeah.
Boy, yeah.
It's like no one questioned why this angry little girl was at the United Nations or wherever she is. She was first speaking. Like, well, why did this specific girl get a platform? It's like it's all theater. I mean, I'm not telling you guys anything that you don't know. But yeah, it's like, okay, why did they choose her? And she really has absolutely nothing to say. You must have seen the one where they were asking her a question. She had no clue, and she's like, "Well, ask other people and stuff on the platform. If she doesn't have her script, she's clueless. She has nothing smart to say. She just spews out these juvenile catchphrases, and then when there's
But then the governments follow her. Look where we are today. And then the governments follow her. Look where we are today.
no, exactly. I mean, they're not really following her. They're just puppeting her. I don't know why.
But she was just arrested, I think, on the weekend. And she did a photo shoot, smiling.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So somebody was trying to call her out. They're like, "Oh yeah, when you got arrested, why were you guys taking multiple takes and stuff like that?"
Mountain. But last time around in the crisis, we saw people didn't care so much about the environment when we were talking about large-scale job losses. This time seems different. Are you surprised about how strong the sustainability theme has been right through the pandemic?
No, I would see even a chance to accelerate, let's say, our transition into a green economy, because people probably recognize that we have to become more resilient. We have now the experience of one crisis, the environmental crisis, the climate crisis could be a much bigger one. So I see more awareness, but on the other hand, we have the big issue of unemployment, of low levels of employment, and I think we shouldn't see the two as contradictory objectives.
One really weird thing that I've noticed is like our cafeteria. It doesn't open in the morning. It opens at 9 now, and that's literally because they can't find people to work. I'm like it seems like all of a sudden when everyone stopped working for during COVID, because they were not essential. Like I don't know, people just don't want to work anymore or something. It's really weird. There's full of job opportunities everywhere. There's job, looking for jobs everywhere. And it's like, where did the people go? Like, how are they surviving without jobs or something? It's really weird.
Well, I grew up here in Texas, and a lot of Texans pride themselves as being conservative. And one of the hallmarks of conservatism is a self-reliance and an aversion to communism.
Mhm.
But 9 times out of 10, I get on Facebook and look at these so-called Texas conservatives, and they were all sitting their fat butts on the couch watching TV, complaining because their government stimulus check hadn't arrived yet.
Yeah.
These are communists, is what they are.
Yeah.
But what you do is, if you want to hedge people into communism, you create a crisis, you mandate a lockdown, and then you cause financial hardship, and then you start sending out stimulus checks to each individual, and they get just like a wild animal that you start feeding by hand. You start hand feeding a wild animal. It becomes tame and domesticated, and then you combine this communist mindset with a medical mandate. And there's a lot of positions. I would bet that those positions that you're talking about that are not filled, those cafeteria positions,
Yeah.
probably require some type of mandated medical intervention that a lot of people aren't willing to subject themselves to, the first and the second and the third and the fourth and the fifth.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people right now that are waking up to the myocarditis and the sudden death phenomenon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've been trying to look around. I wanted to make kind of a video about death for unknown reason, like how it's like skyrocketing and stuff like that. Yeah, everyone was kind of suspecting the guy that dropped after that hard hit, but there's a lot of athletes. At least I get the impression that there's a lot of not necessarily like NFL athletes, but athletes and stuff. I've been seeing a lot of compilations of just young kids just flopping on the field and stuff like that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now they're coming out with news stories saying, you have to expect young people to have heart disease. The cardiac arrest is a symptom of being a young person now.
Sure. I buy it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Makes perfect sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's climate change. Climate change causes heart attacks in young people.
That was actually an article, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like people don't even realize they're like, ha, he's funny. No, that I saw that. Climate. I thought it was obesity, but no. Causing. I definitely saw something along that. Rising heart may be explained by extreme weather. Yeah. Okay. Welcome to clown world. There. Rise in heart disease may be explained by extreme weather conditions. Jesus, I just want to cry.
What's your opinion about?
It's a little bit of everything. We started about the World Economic Forum, and JD and Margaret came on. The influence of climate change on human cardiovascular function. Climate change causes heart attacks. Yeah, and this is on PubMed. The influence of climate change on human cardiovascular function. PubMed. Shoot me now.
It's crazy.
Clown world.
They're posting stuff like this, yet the legalization of cocaine and fentanyl in certain provinces is allowed.
Yeah,
Okay?
yeah, they're legalizing fentanyl, but
Yeah. No.
but they're going to lock us up.
Where are they legalizing?
They're
BC.
decriminalizing.
BC.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that means that if you have a certain amount of fentanyl on you, they won't take it away.
Exactly.
They'll just let you go OD
Yet the climate is
5 minutes
giving
later.
us heart attacks, and this is a big time article.
Yeah,
That's bad.
yeah.
Okay.
It's like during the lockdowns, all the gyms were shut down, but the liquor stores were open.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I actually
That's so hospitals don't deal with psychosis.
no. Well, I was thinking
Because we're
because
busy.
you know how alcohol or benzos, but alcohol are you can die from withdrawals. I was saying I think I understand, because if people would not be able to get like booze, you'd have tons of people coming in with seizures and delirium tremors and stuff like that. But they did keep the marijuana, which that's not life preserving.
No, but
Yeah.
if they lock us up long enough
Mhm.
and legalize it in more and more areas, more and more people are
Yeah.
getting stupider and
They're not
stupider
gonna
as
come
they're
out of their
hired and
houses.
hired.
Yeah.
So
Keeping
that
us in
gives the the government power because there's more stupider people.
Yeah, they want to dumb down the
And
population.
yes, I know, more stupider does not go together. That makes me sound more stupid.
I'm glad you caught that.
Okay, yes.
Makes them seem more stupider.
You're more stupider.
More stupider. Like, look, I was raised in New
I'm
Jersey.
smartier than you.
Yeah, I spent half my life in New Jersey. Give me a break.
There you go.
Okay.
All right.
Blame it on the Jersey Shore.
No, exactly. The Jersey Shore.
It's the ocean.
Yeah, climate change
Too much salt.
hurting. There's even one about hurting. Climate change could hurt babies' hearts. Same thing. Ridiculous. All right.
Wow.
Yeah. Impressive. All right, man. I guess we'll cut it here. I said that I would turn it off when my wife arrives. So keep it well, for me, short and sweet. Almost 3 hours is short and sweet for me and JD and Margaret, right?
So say
Yeah, we
goodnight
usually
to
go for
everybody.
8 or 9 hours.
No, I know.
So
All right,
say
guys.
goodnight to everybody.
Yeah.
Enjoy
All right.
it.
Next time you can come on, Green Ghost. You arrived late. Shame on you. All right. See you guys. See you, JD.
Amen.
Have a
Bye.
good one. Bye-bye. Bye. Bye.